'twas a dark and stormy night, nor'easter rolling in. It's a long 12 hours, the power's out again. I pray for inner strength and that we don't lose no lives. Just another day in the first responders' eyes. Half a cup of coffee's gone, the first run comes in. A car slid off the road, there's a family trapped within. My heart beats like a hammer, I can barely catch my breath. I'm thinking the worst and hoping for the best. Yeah, we ain't superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference, and the first on every scene. It's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this burden when you can't unsee the things you've seen. It keeps going on. When those sirens are gone. Now my shift is finally over, I gotta deal with what's mine and try to find a way to leave those tragedies behind. So I hug my 2 children, I kiss on my wife. Just another day, the first responder's life. Yeah, we ain't superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference, and the first on every scene. It's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this burden when you can't unsee the things you've seen. It keeps going on. When those sirens are gone. Flashing lights fill the air, broken bodies everywhere. Another bad dream is stealing my sleep. 'Cause we ain't superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference, and the first on every scene. And it's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this hurting when you can't unsee the things you've seen. It keeps going on. When those sirens are gone, it keeps going on. When those sirens are gone.
Hey, welcome to the award-winning Mad Radio Show with John and Sam. Welcome to 2022. We're going to put that shit show of 2021 in the back rearview mirror and be blessed that we're going to have 2022 as a good year. Welcome, Sam. How are you?
Hey, John. Happy New Year. It is awesome to be back. I want to say that, we're starting off 2022 with a more positive light. We're bringing more enthusiasm, more programming. Unfortunately, we're kind of starting the new year where we left off, and the statistics, the numbers aren't even up yet. But I just want to take a minute or two to just, our hearts and our prayers are with the St. Lucie Sheriff's Office in Florida. 2 deputies, Deputy Clayton Osteen and Victoria Pacheco, both took their lives the other day. And the thing that it all sucks. You know, every story that we get, all the notifications that we get, these two folks shared a newborn. And after Deputy Osteen completed suicide, it wasn't long after that Ms. Pacheco decided to end her life. And I just pray that, that little baby is taken care of by family. But we're surrounding St. Lucie Sheriff's Office and all the families and everybody that's been affected. We're just sending our deepest condolences and our hugs. And so also in Philadelphia, we've got a terrible, terrible tragedy. We've got the fire department reeling from something that the chief, who's been in the fire service for 35 years. I was watching the press conference today, and his words, I don't have the words to describe what we are going through right now. Finding, when I watched it, was 7 children. I think they're still in the recovery phase, but 13 people perished in that fire. And so tonight's show, Happy New Year, everybody. Tonight's show is dedicated to the memories of Deputy Osteen and Pacheco and all of those who perished in the terrible fire in Philadelphia. We hope that you can find some peace in the days to come. But it is a yucky way to start the new year. But everything, as we've discussed, John, on the show, everything happens for a reason, and out of tragedy, there's always something to learn from, and that's what I hope that will just come out of this. We've got to learn something, right?
If we learn anything, and I'm gonna tailgate on what with some of the departments. I want everybody to keep Bradley, Illinois' police department in our thoughts and prayers as well. Police work is never routine. When we talk about the mental health and we talk about what happened in St. Lucie with the 2 officers, their mental health programs, however they were set, or what actions the departments took to control or to help or to foresee such a tragic accident. These 2 officers in Bradley, were responding to a barking dog in a hotel. Kind of a nuisance call, kind of something that the progressive Democrats want to give over to social workers and everything else, these nuisance calls. And these 2 officers trying to secure a barking dog, ended up paying with their lives. As a sergeant, I can't pronounce her last name, Ritmanik, begged for her life as these 2 in short words, pieces of shit, shot her with her own gun as she begged for her life. So nothing's routine when it comes to police work. These are the stresses. These are the things that are on a police officer's mind from the moment he wakes up in the morning or she wakes up in the morning to the time they take off that uniform. And I don't think our politicians, I don't think a lot of our left and our progressives understand what stresses our law enforcement go through on a daily basis. When you have to respond, when you have to worry about losing your life over a barking dog, that's tragic. It's not you're confronting an armed suspect who's just committed a felony or a robbery or what. You're going there for a nuisance call and you lose your life. These pieces of shit took away someone's life, took away a mom, a sister, a daughter, and until these rules change, until accountability is held for society, I don't think we're going to lose our law enforcement more and more and more. I was listening to one of the presidents of the Chicago Police Union the other day speak about just 5 or 10 years ago, where 20,000 plus were taking the police exam. This year, less than 2,000 took the test. Now, out of 2,000 applicants, you may get 500 that are suitable or pass. Out of that, you may get 200 that are ready for the academy, and they are already almost 900 to 1,000 officers short in the city of Chicago. But no one's taken a test, and because our politicians have chosen to dehumanize our law enforcement, putting more stresses on them, putting more handcuffs on them, and frankly, just letting them out there to just be bait for the criminal element. And it's a sad fact. And I hope 2022 changes when we hit the midterm elections, and our law enforcement get their rights back, because this is tragic. Four suicides already. We're in day 5. We got these 2 officers killed, a few more that I read through the post, and it's just a horrible way to start a year.
Yeah, it is. That's why, like our guest tonight, you and I are dedicated to really highlighting and bringing people on, people that have been there, that understand what it is to walk in those shoes, to have to have eyes in the back of their head. And I think that the more that they speak out about what it is to be a police officer, a soldier, whatever their lives were, it helps, I'll call the lay person, at least get a glimpse into what these folks go through on a day, like you said, a daily basis. This is where the stress comes from. This is where the overwhelm comes from. This is where I feel like, I'm trapped. I have nowhere to go. And certainly now, if you're on the street, it's, well, if I use my gun to defend my own life or the life of somebody else, am I going to be sued penniless? Am I going to, go to jail? Am I in a prison, rather? Am I going to go, and so that whole immunity that was, that they were stripped of, it's really been damaging across the board. I don't think there's any department that really isn't touched by it. Well, maybe not in Florida so much as they're throwing out the bonus money, and hey, they're doing good things here in a lot of the departments in Texas. So if you,
but you have right there, you have a governor and state attorneys that back their police to the point.
Sure.
Me and you are advocates of law enforcement, but we're also advocates if you cross the line in law enforcement, you should be punished. But these officers, a lot of them are just doing their job and are being criticized and prosecuted and stripped of their guns and badges, suspended over the woke generation of prosecutors and judges. And that is not fair to our law enforcement. Yeah. If you look at the nation, the top 12 cities who have had huge spikes in crime are all Democratic cities. There's got to be a reason for that, because
it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out.
I mean, a 4th grader could really understand it. That you're getting children shot in the streets in Chicago. Hey, let's get more cops. I don't understand the mindset of some of these mayors and politicians.
That's because you and I live with a moral code and an ethical code that wouldn't allow us to operate the way they're operating. I mean, that's why we don't. That's why we can't even begin to understand. And unfortunately, it's the store owners, it's the business owners, it's the grocery store owners, it's the neighborhood watch people, it's ordinary families and entire communities that are suffering for there's just really no words to really explain the leadership in these cities.
Well, I'm praying for New York. De Blasio's out. Eric Adams, the new mayor that's now in New York, he is a sort of progressive Democrat, but he is retired NYPD. He was a captain, so he has worked in his shoes. He will be probably on a progressive side, but he knows what it takes to fight crime. I think he's going to give a lot of the tools that de Blasio took away. I think he's going to do his best to give back some of those tools, like the street crime units and the anti-crime units. But once again, it depends on what the governor, how much the governor pressures him into changing rules, because she is way that way as well. So hopefully Eric will.
And that's an understatement,
Yeah.
because it's more like way on a planet up there. Is more like it. Well, I just hope he sticks to his.
Yeah, I wish him the best, and I wish the NYPD the best, and I hope he can make some change and bring some morale up, because the NYPD really needs it right now. We got great officers in the NY, probably the best trained in the world, and the city deserves a lot better. So I think I'm hoping Eric Adams will bring what they need back to the city.
Yeah. Amen to that. Hey, for everybody listening, our comment stream is open, and so we are going to make a transition here to bring back Nate Fisher. Nate was on our podcast on December 1st, so if you guys want to after this show, go back and listen to that show, will catch you up to speed. And Nate has been doing some just incredible work. And we really didn't get a chance last time that he was on to really dive into that. So, without further ado, Nate Fisher, he is, he was a veteran. Then he went into the police department, and then he left the police department and he went into full-time now Army National Guard. So he gets exactly what we're talking about. He's walked in their shoes, and Nate, welcome back to the show.
Yeah,
it's great to see you again. Happy New Year.
Thanks for having me again. Happy New Year to y'all.
A pleasure. We left off the last show. We kind of rushed through the last part, which it was the most critical piece about the healing part. You've been through a lot. You've seen a lot. You talked briefly about being around horses and how that helped you. You realized that you had post-traumatic stress. And you needed to make changes. Could you just let our listeners and our viewers kind of inside what you were going through? What was it that you saw, that you experienced, that kind of kicked off you looking for the help that you finally got?
Honestly, I didn't know I was getting help. When I first started, I had met my now fiance, and she's an equestrian, and that's what got me into the horses. But when we first met, I was a military contractor. I had just left the police department, and when I would come home to ease the time of the quietness and stuff to get my demons out, I would drink a lot, and I'd be at the bar spending $300 a day at the bar on alcohol, and then. So we always laugh about it now, how, when I finally told my fiance how much I was spending, she's like, oh, you could have bought me a saddle. Said, spend all that money on alcohol.
It always goes back. It always goes back to them. You could have bought me this.
You could have bought me this. So we always joke about that now. But she started bringing me out to the barn, just to help out and stuff. And I was like, okay, I'll go out. Start shoveling horse shit and stuff like that. And like I said, I didn't know that it was actually helping me. The thing with horses, is they pick up what you're giving off. So whenever I was having a real bad like anxiety day or something like that, I could not get near a horse. Like I could see their ears would pin back. They'd be a little standoffish around me, and started teaching me how to control myself a little bit better. I started realizing, whenever they would feed off of me and I could see that from them, it made me realize how I really was. So I'm like, okay, I'm not in a good place right now. And I would start, breathing a little bit better, trying to figure out what was wrong, and I'd calm myself down, and then I could go and help the horse. I could groom them or do whatever that needed to be done. So in effect, like I said, I didn't know I was getting help at the time. Like it was just naturally happening with the horses. I was learning how to deal with the things that was going on in my head so I could be with the horse. And in return, like I really started seeing my bar tab go down.
Okay.
To the point, like now, I still have a drink here and there and stuff like that, but I'm not drinking every day. I go out and have a drink socially with my fiance or with my friends, and then that's it. I don't go. I'm not trying to drown the demons anymore. I've learned how to work through it.
Yeah. When you were with the horse, so let's say you were going to groom the horse, you were going to clean the shoes. Mm-hmm. I don't even know if that's a proper term, but if you were anxious or if you were having a bad day, you would just come from the bar. Would the horse be like, dude, you're not touching me, and move away?
Absolutely.
From Oh,
absolutely.
Really?
Like the first thing I would notice, like I said, their ears would just pin straight back. They'd be back, and then you can, especially when you start being around a horse a little bit more, you can see facial expressions on them a little bit, and they kind of get back a little bit, looking at you all weird and stuff, and you're like, what's going on? There were some times where I didn't even realize that I was having an issue. The horse was picking up what I was giving off, but as for lack of better terms, is almost like my norm for a little bit. Just being off became a little bit of a norm for me, to where always being around the horse stuff, and they would really pick up on it, that it made me realize I'm not as good as I think I am.
At what point, because our watch teaches us a lot about the horses and the aura that you give off, what was that aha moment, or that moment where you said, it's like being in a room of friends that don't want to talk to you, but when did you turn around and say, put the mental health and the horse not responding together? What was that moment where you were able to say, hey, is something really wrong with me? When did that change?
Yeah. Well, I started talking to my fiance about it. I'm like, a lot of times these horses, they don't want me to come near them. And the day before, they were loving on me and stuff. She was the one that told me they can pick up what you're giving off and stuff. And at that point, she had knew my past. She actually gave me the courage to come out with my story by telling me hers. And so we started talking about it. And I was like, oh, shit. Maybe I'm still dealing with my stuff that I didn't realize I was still dealing with. Mm-hmm. So it was actually having a conversation with my fiance. And once she kind of explained it all to me, I was like, okay, that's starting to make sense. And I really started to really look at myself whenever I got around the horses. And that taught me how to work through my stuff so I could be there and help my fiance with shoveling horse shit or, picking hooves and stuff like that.
Well, the big thing is the healing process, and that's what we're here to talk about. Mm-hmm. What did you do internally when you walked into that barn? Were there breathing techniques? Was it a change in mindset? Was there something that you did differently within yourself to say, all right, now I'm going to be able to approach this horse and he's going to love on me? Mm-hmm. Or what did you do?
Honestly, on the way to the barn, I could feel myself relaxing. because I knew I was about to be around the horses and stuff, and it was a relaxing thing for me. So on the way to the barn and stuff, I'd be like, I'd breathe, without really knowing any breathing techniques.
Right.
I never was taught breathing techniques, and stuff like that. So I went to our watch just to hang out with them and tell my story to them that they showed us breathing techniques. I was like, I kind of did that, on the way to the barn, like, just kind of nice deep breaths, really trying to clear my mind. Like, man, I'm about to have a good day. I'm about to be around some horses. And then I'd get to the horses. And then once I started doing that and realizing all that, that's whenever I realized horses stopped being scared of me. They just started, hey, what's going on, Nate? And I even have one that now I even call my girlfriend. Yeah.
Your
Then
fiance.
you come out of the barn and your girlfriend doesn't talk, your fiance doesn't talk.
Yeah,
The breathing techniques going all the way back to the house.
exactly.
Sam, remember when we were at our watch, did you feel the same way when we were in the pen or the round, whatever they call it? Did you feel that same effect with the horses?
Well, I mean, I didn't really understand the whole equine therapy protocol. We just kind of volunteered to come up there and like go through a mini course to experience it. And I was like, well, what do you mean we're not going to ride the horse? I grew up, I like riding horses. And so they're like, no, you're not going to ride. And I'm like, you're going to get the horse to come to you. And I was like, oh, okay. Like a dog, right? It's just an overgrown dog. At least that's how people describe cows. So I was
Right.
like, what would it take to just like, come on, horsey, and it was nothing like being with a dog. I think it was Charlie, the name of the horse. I can't remember offhand, but he was a big dude, and being just me and him in there with nobody, it was a little anxiety producing, I'll say, because this horse was huge, and there's no there's no reins. So it's like you've got to get the horse to come, and it didn't. I love animals, so I'm like being in there all passive and trying to make him follow my direction and everything, and he's just like, whatever. I mean, not listening. And I was like, wow, this horse is disobedient.
He doesn't like
me.
me.
No, he's picking up on my anxiety being in with him. Okay, so I had to kind of rework my whole approach, if you will, Nate, just like you said, kind of slow down my breathing. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, we have a stalemate here. The horse is looking at me. I'm looking at him. He just wants to go off and do whatever he wants. How do I make this horse move? And it wasn't until Dr. T was like, Sam, in your career in law enforcement, how would you make somebody comply with you? And I told them, you give them a command. And they're like, so when you give them a command, are you anxious? I'm like, no, you just give them a command. They're like, go ahead. And that's exactly what I did. And the daggone horse came over, and I was like, really? This is, I surprised myself because I took everything that was floating around and in my head out of it, and just me and the horse. And it was a wow experience. I still prefer dogs. I'm just gonna say.
See,
I enjoy horses still. Like if they want to be pet and stuff. And I realized that I can control a lot of that. But I enjoyed the riding aspect of it for sure.
When you talk about liking dogs, and Nate, you have a service animal as well. When you look at both species, when you look at the horse and you look at a dog, both are great service animals, but both work in totally different ways.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
The horse is going to feed off your energy. So if you have a stressful energy, he's going to back off until you calm down. Right? The dog, the canine, is just the opposite. he's going to feed off your cortisol levels. And
He's gonna jump on you.
as you're stressing out, he's going to come over and he's going to put his head on your lap, and he's not going to go away. Mm-hmm. So it's amazing how animals work to help in the mental health field, but you have to know the difference.
Absolutely.
You have to build the awareness key. And like Nate, you had the conversation with your fiance about it to build your awareness and understand how horses work. John, you and I, we went to Our Watch to figure out this whole thing. It was like, what do you mean you use horses to heal?
Right.
And
I'm from New York. How do you use horses?
Right, exactly. Yeah, it is very interesting. And no matter what our experiences and the modes that we're working with, awareness of what we bring to it is what can change everything. And I know, Nate, that's why you do what you do with Surviving the Streets podcast. Now, we can't really talk too much about what you do with the Army National Guard, but you left law enforcement.
Yes, ma'am.
You became a contractor, right? A military contractor in between, and then you decided to go back full-time Guard. Do I have that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I left law enforcement in 2017. And again, like it's something that me and my fiance always joke about. I was a cop whenever we met, and 2 weeks later, that's when I left the law enforcement. And one reason how I was able to get her, I was like, well, I'm a cop, so I can get you free coffee. So she's like, sold. I don't drink coffee, so yeah.
Free coffee.
Yeah.
Oh man. Wait, you just said you don't drink coffee?
I don't drink coffee.
Is that why they gave you the papers to leave? I don't understand.
Wait, he doesn't drink coffee? Get him off.
I don't drink coffee. My fiance drinks enough for both of us, so we're good.
All right. Well, she gets props for that.
Yeah. So yeah, then I became a military contractor. I got tired of being gone all the time as a contractor. I would be gone 3 to 4 months at a time, home for 30 days. So it's really hard to have a relationship. And also, I have a son as well, so it's hard to be a dad at the same time when you're never there. So I got real tired of being gone. So I took a huge pay cut and decided, I'm going to go back and be full-time Air National Guard. And that's what I'm doing now. And I started the podcast a year ago. It was my 1 year episode was this past December.
Wow.
That just passed.
Well, happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Yeah. And your podcast is called
Surviving the Streets.
Okay. And tell everybody, what made you decide to do a podcast? First of all, because we all know, it's a big commitment and there's a lot that goes into it. It's not just like grabbing.
Oh yeah. So when I first wanted to start coming out with my story, it took me a while to get the courage to actually come out with my story. It took me about a year, since I started it while I was back full-time active Air National Guard. And since I attempted suicide, if I came out publicly, I could lose my security clearance and lose my job. So I had to find a way, how to get the courage to ask my command and the trust in my command to go to them and say, hey, I attempted suicide, but now I want to try and help people. So one day I was just in the gym at work. And I was all right, I'm going to go do this. I went straight to my commander's office, all sweaty. I was like, sir, I need to talk. He's like, oh, okay. And we closed the door and I told him a little bit about my story. And I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to help people out. And he's like, no, this is a great idea. He's like, I love that you want to do this. He's like, let me make some phone calls and see if we can do it. And I'll try and do it in a way to where I don't have to say any names. So if someone's like, no, and we don't need them anymore because he apparently had mental health issues, it's not going to come back to me.
Sure.
So I was like, okay, I appreciate it. A few weeks later, I went up to him. I was like, hey, how's everything going? He's like, we're good to go. He's like, Go ahead and start telling your story. So like, okay, awesome. So I reached out to my very first police department I worked at and said, hey, guys, this is my story. This is what I went through. I want to start telling my story with y'all first because I consider y'all my home, y'all my family. And while I was waiting for that, I noticed that one of the guys I used to work with had a podcast. And we're friends on Instagram and Facebook together. And I was seeing his podcast stuff, and I really liked his content. You know, it was just no judgment, and let's just have a conversation about the podcast about anything that came up. So I reached out to him. I was like, hey, their podcast called Ash and G. So I reached out to him. I was like, hey, I know it's been a while since we've talked. I think it had been like 2 to 3 years since I had talked to him. I was like, but I've been watching your stuff on your podcast and stuff, and I want to come on your show because I want to tell my story on your show. So he's like, absolutely, you know. So we set up a time and a date and stuff, and me and Sharon went out there, and we told our story for at least 3 hours on his podcast.
Wow.
We did a 3-hour podcast on his show. And after that, I started getting feedback from some people that, you know, I'd shared the podcast and stuff on my social media. And I started getting feedback from people like, man, you should do your own podcast. If this is something you want to do, you should probably start your own podcast to help, you know, spread awareness and get your story out. And so I was like, okay, yeah, absolutely. You know, I'll look into it. So for one of my Christmas presents that year, over a year ago now, I bought myself my podcast equipment and I started it up. And then I don't have good internet at my house. So a lot of times I come over here to my best friend's house. Like I said, in my last podcast, he's the worst best friend ever. But I come over here and like he's been real supportive, him and his wife. They've actually helped buy some of the equipment for me. You know, they're going all in with it for me as well. So, and it's been slowly picking up steam.
And your podcast is called Surviving the Streets. So I have the banner up so everybody can see it. What are the specific, like, do you have topics that you cover? How do you?
Yeah, we try to just talk about mental health, any aspect of mental health. For my 1-year anniversary, I finally had my first firefighter on, and he talked about mental health and the aspect of his dad getting cancer, how it affected him while he was also going through paramedic school with those stresses. Then at the same time, he was pretty much getting a divorce at the same time. So he had a lot of stresses built up, but his main thing it seemed like it was more about his dad, who was 30 years law enforcement. And he had built his dad up, you know, and everything, and seeing his dad get sick and get weaker and stuff, it really affected him. And I've had some other people come on and talk about not necessarily the job, but things outside the job, but that still affects their work.
You know, Nate, you bring up such a valid point. We always look at the mental health and the stresses of the job and what we see on the job. And we sometimes forget that our law enforcement, our firefighters, our paramedics, and all our first responders do have a life outside the bag, you know, when we take that uniform off. So, you know, people forget that things like a family illness, such as cancer in the family, is going to affect our job performance. Sick kids, divorce. Those are the things, you know, we sometimes forget to emphasize on. They're humans. They have other stresses outside the job, and me and Sam have talked about this a couple of times, where something that really wouldn't bother you too much on a job is it's tenfold if you're living some outside stresses.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
Which we all forget to we sometimes fail to recognize this. And you know, I'm glad you brought up that as such a great point you brought up. I'm glad you guys hit that topic on your show.
Oh yeah, I mean, we try and keep it as much as mental health as possible, but I'm all about just being real and just going wherever the conversation takes us. Now, if it starts veering off,
the show on?
I'm sorry.
the days your show? How can people see you?
I post it usually on the 1st or the 2nd of each month. So like it's hard to get people to come on and talk about being vulnerable. So it usually takes me about a month to find one person to come on the show.
Well, just like you going into your commander's office to say you wanted to start this, a lot of people are fearful, especially if they're still wearing the badge, because they don't know how their department's going to react. They don't know if they get onto a podcast or if they get onto a radio show or something, and one of their peers sees it, or their HR sees it, or their commander sees it. They're like, well, you talked about this. We're going to strip you of your gun. We're going to strip, and it could affect. So a lot of people do fear that. I'm glad your commander had the open door policy.
One thing I do is I don't use video. I don't take pictures, and I give everyone the option of using an alias. And we never mention where they work, what city they work for. So that way they keep as much anonymity as possible, to where if someone's like, that's you, I recognize your voice, and be like, that's not me at all.
Prove it. Prove
it. I mean, it doesn't say who I am. And the only thing I tell them, everyone that comes on, the only time I edit anything is if they accidentally say their name or the city they work for. Other than that, whatever you say, you say. Because I want it raw.
And it's sad that we can't get to a point, and hopefully one day we will get to a point where a first responder can actually say his name, say his department, and be proud, like you just said. Your commander had that open door policy and allowed you, and you felt comfortable enough to go in there and speak with him. Now, once you feel comfortable enough to speak about a podcast, any issues you have mentally or whatever it is, inside the job or out, you're going to be able to talk to your commander. You're going to feel that comfort zone. You say, hey, he listened to me once. And that really makes a big difference in job performance, in mental health, and just pure happiness. So hopefully one day we'll be able to get to that point where you don't have to live behind an anonymous.
And I did have one guy come on. He used his real name, but I made sure we didn't say what city he worked for, just in case. But he made a great point. It's like, whenever you can actually come out and be completely yourself and show people you can be vulnerable, it actually creates more of a snowball effect for the people around you.
Sure.
Rather than having to hide behind an alias and stuff like that. But like, no, this is Nate. He works at this place, and this is what he went through, and it creates a snowball effect. And I've noticed every time, like, since I started the podcast, or I've went and talked at the first conventions with Dr. T and a couple other police departments, that whenever I go and I open up and I show them I'm vulnerable and I tell my story, I usually get 1 to 2 people call me afterwards, and they want to talk about stuff.
Yep.
So I think the more you are yourself and show that you're vulnerable, it actually helps other people be vulnerable as well, to where they can open up and start talking about the things that are bothering them.
I
think you also had a heads up commander as well, who was probably very forward thinking in that, okay, well, this could probably help, the whole, I don't know what you call it in the Air National Guard squadron, or at least
it depends on which unit you're in.
At least his command, his unit, that if you're out there and he sees, hey, if people can talk about it, it's going to be beneficial. So we're going to have a really squared away unit.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like the commander I have, he you can tell he definitely cares about his people. He actually he came up to me, made sure I was okay, and had me come and talk to the unit and tell my story to my actual unit.
Oh, fantastic.
And I was a little nervous at first, because I work with these guys, and I still, like, the military. I mean, we have a raunchy sense of humor about stuff. Like, there's a time, like, we're waiting on a guy after I told my story. We're waiting on a guy, and he's taking a while to do his job. And the guy looked at me, does put the fake gun up to his head and like pull the trigger because it's taking so long. And I was like, yeah, man, I feel the same way. And all of a sudden he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. He comes up and gives me. I was like, no, just be yourself. Like, yeah, PowerPoint makes me want to blow my brains out. But obviously, it's a figurative
You can
speech.
still
I don't
joke
really want
about
to
it.
blow my brains. I can joke about it.
Right.
Right.
That's one thing I was scared that I would get people to look at me differently afterwards. But everyone still treats me the same. We all still talk shit to each other and stuff like that, just like nothing ever really happened.
The one
Well,
thing I
Nate,
like.
you're-
I'm sorry, Sam.
Go ahead. No, I was going to ask Nate. What platforms are you on? What that people can listen?
I am on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Apple.
Okay.
The one thing I like, Nate, that your commander did, and big kudos to him, is that not only did he open up the door, he protected you as well in case there was any backlash from
Absolutely.
the uppers. And I think you got to commend the guy for that, to not throw you under the bus, to say, you know what, I'm going to take this to the next level, but in doing so, I'm going to shield you from anything that comes back. And that must have gave you such comfort.
Absolutely.
At that point,
Absolutely. Knowing that I wasn't going to lose my job, because that was the big thing I was fearful of. So I didn't want to go back to contracting. Knowing that I wasn't going to have to lose my job or anything like that. And he's like, hey, I'll take care of it. I'll make sure it doesn't come back to you. I'm like, okay, I'm good. And me and him to have a good relationship. Because even his little girls, they like to ride horses. So on our family day, Sharon came out and those little girls were attached to her like nothing else. So,
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So it's great.
So does your fiance Sharon, do you guys have you guys started doing stuff with the horses? Like having
that's
people
one thing that we like. Whenever we first started all this, we were talking about equine therapy, and whenever I was telling her, hey, how it actually helped me being out there and stuff, and she's like, I've always wanted to do something with equine therapy for veterans. And I looked at her, I was like, there's nothing out there for first responders. And we did Google searches. I couldn't find Our Watch. I heard about Our Watch through my first police department, because they just met up with Dr. T because they were trying to put together a peer support team. And that's how I got in contact with Dr. T and Our Watch. So we're talking with Our Watch for a while about maybe being part of their brand down here in the Houston area, because we have 30 horses, we have the acreage and stuff like that to do something. But to get certified and all that, it's not cheap. And
okay.
Working for the government, you don't really make that much money. I still got bills I have to pay. So that is something we want to do in the future, is build our own kind of like equine therapy, kind of like Our Watch, whether we be affiliated with Our Watch or not. Also, I would like to be affiliated with them because they already got a program set up and be kind of, bounce ideas and stuff off of them. But yeah, so we're trying to start a nonprofit now. But again, like I said, that for some reason, if you want to help people, it costs money to get things started. And again, so I started a GoFundMe so we can kind of raise money so we can start the nonprofit, because I wanted to get a lawyer to help set everything up, so I know I'm doing everything by the book. They also train us and everything like that to make sure we know the right way of doing it, the wrong way. So I want to make sure I'm completely legal whenever we do this. So, it does cost a little bit of money. So that's why I started GoFundMe, to try and help raise some money to where I can start this. And what we want to do with the nonprofit, not only like we want to hold events to kind of bring people together and create a community for first responders, like there's a veteran community, but we also want to help offset the cost of therapy, because therapy is not cheap.
No.
And some insurances don't cover it, especially if you're scared to let your city know you're going through something. And so you just go, I'm going to go out of pocket for it. You can contact us. I've already talked to a couple of therapists to say, hey, yeah, we'll be involved with it, once you get it set up, and we'll help pay for the, so many sessions. It depends on how much money we have coming in and stuff like that. That's our ultimate goal. And that not only is for just active first responders, but we want to bring in the retired guys as well.
Nate, you bring up a point with certifications, and this is something that me and Sam, everybody that we deal with, every one of our resources, 100% vetted. when you talk about equine certifications in a therapy program, what does that consist of? Because I'm naive on that.
Yeah, well, Dr. T sent me the links for it. And I want to say the place is out in the Austin area. And I was looking at it, like the first thing I saw, just because of who I am, I looked at the price. So I didn't really dig too deep because I looked at the price, like I can't even consider this right now.
Right.
But I mean, they teach you pretty much everything that our watch is doing. So you go out there and then you have to maintain so many hours of education, kind of like keeping your T-Cole
Right.
stuff going
Okay.
as well.
Right.
So yeah, it's like I said, it was as soon as I saw the price tag for everything that we would have to do, I was like, okay, because I know how I get. Once I start going into something, I'm just going to dive straight into it, not really care about my bank account.
Are there educational grants that you can apply for to maybe help you with that?
Honestly, I don't know. I did look to see if like my GI Bill would cover something like that, and it didn't. Because to be part of the GI Bill, they have to go through the VA system and stuff like that. Because I was like, well, maybe I can just use my GI Bill to get this, because the GI Bill does cover some certifications.
Right.
And stuff. And it'll even cover like your T-Cole certification, depending on what department you're with.
Interesting.
So
I'm just
I
saying.
want to share. You're raising the money through your podcast, correct?
yes, ma'am. Yeah, through the GoFundMe. I mean, that's the only. Like I said, I'm not tech savvy. I'm learning. Me and Sharon are learning as we go. So like, okay, I'll start out by going with the GoFundMe. We did have like a social event December 22nd for first responders here in Houston. Big fail. We only had 2 people show up. It was like 1 firefighter, 1 cop. So we definitely had some pretty good debates going on. But we're talking about different fundraisers and stuff. And since we have horses, we're like, okay, how do we get a bunch of firefighters and cops, the good looking ones, to come out, take some pictures with horses? Because we know people that are in the horse life, they're not hurting for money, is the best way to put it.
Right.
To where I can have
Hey, look,
calendars for these old ladies, that want to look at horses and good looking guys. I can go sell those to help raise money for the Surviving the Streets Foundation and stuff.
Right. So you guys can see it, right? I want to make sure
Yes,
that my tech skills are working here.
No,
I've
Sam,
actually never seen this kind of screen layout before, so StreamYard is doing.
Bring that back up again, because you can't see how to get to the.
Well, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to actually copy the link, and I'm going to have to put it in the
Well, if you go to GoFundMe and just type in "Surviving the Streets," this should pop up.
I hope so. If
Yeah,
not, you can just look. You can just look for that picture.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna. Hold on a second.
'Cause I'm sure there's other Surviving the Streets stuff out there. Because every now and then I get something from the UK of people reaching out trying to get with Surviving the Streets. So it's something that they have going on there.
Yeah, so if you hit the search here on GoFundMe right now, if it would like to work here, so Surviving the Streets.
So yeah, so 2022, we're hoping to really get the ball rolling on everything.
There it is. So I can see the one above it, Surviving the Streets Help the UK. That's what it is. So if you hit Surviving the Streets,
You see that picture?
on me, and it works. And like I said, it's part of it's this one right here.
Yep. The other one is feeding the homeless. So
Right.
that's in the UK. But this, you just look at that picture, click on that link, and let's help get NATIVE certification.
Yes. So this is what it looks like. You can go to GoFundMe.com, search "Surviving the Streets." I am going to put the actual link, the exact link to it, in our comments. So we'll have that. But I did want to. It was easier to just bring this up while
Yes.
we're on, so that people can see it. And then this is if you guys want to find Nate's podcast, "Surviving the Streets." This is what it looks like when you go on Spotify. I can't speak for Apple. I don't have. I'm not on Apple, and iHeartRadio has the same, pretty much the same picture on that for the podcast. So, what are your plans besides the GoFundMe to raise the money for the certifications to start equine therapy? What are your plans for the podcast and any expansions that you're doing?
Well, like I said, we're going to try and get the nonprofit up and running, and from there, I mean, also, like, the sky's the limit. Like, we've talked about different fundraisers and stuff like that, like having a calendar, having first responder nights at places to help kind of raise awareness, and possibly maybe have some type of other type of fundraisers. Like, we're just now starting to chip at the block of everything that it can be. So at least 2 to 3 times a week, Sharon and I, we sit down and we kind of discuss it. Okay, what can we do? How can we push this a little bit further? And it all comes down to, like, we have people that are wanting to donate. They're ready to donate and stuff like that, but they want that tax credit.
Right.
So you have to have that nonprofit set up. So our very first step is to do the nonprofit. That way we can get that set up, and then we can start getting donations to come in to help really spread everything around, like getting a website set up. Someone already owns survivingthestreet.com, but they own it just so they can sell it. So I would like to make sure I can keep everything even across the board. That was easy to find us and stuff like that. So I want to try and save up some money so I can buy that. So, and then we start putting all the mental health stuff and everything, therapy and stuff, everything that other therapists you can reach no matter where you're at. Start making it to where we can build a community with first responders and have places where they can go to get help. That is the big thing for us.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Now you're in Houston, you said, right?
Yes, sir.
Houston area. From what you know, because we're being up here in Dallas, it's sometimes like night and day. How is the response with the mental health? I mean, in those communities, do you have a lot of? Does the police department have a lot of backing back in the Houston area?
Yes and no. I guess it depends on what part of the city you're in. If you're in the major metropolitan area, it's probably going to be just like any other big town, ran by the same type of politics.
Gotcha.
The outer areas are just like in the Dallas area, just like like being in, Waxahachie or Frisco and stuff like that. It's a little bit different because the politics are different there. So, but most of my contacts and everyone I usually talk to, because the majority of my career was in the Dallas area, everyone I know is up in the Dallas area that I've been getting involved with. But this community, like, it's hard to break into. Even though I was a part of it, I still consider myself to be a part of the community. Whenever I'm out of my actual area that I was a cop at majority of my time, it's hard to break into the new area. Yeah. And that's one thing that we're trying to do with building the community, to where no matter where you go, just like a veteran, no matter where a veteran goes in the country, he can break into the veteran community and be welcomed with open arms. Right. So that's what we're trying to break into that here in the Houston area. Like I said, it's tough.
It's tough.
Really tough. We're a standoffish community. Unless you're actually serving next to me, I'll give you the thumbs up and I'll pat your back, but you're not my brother, type of thing. So we're trying to break that facade.
I feel you on that one. And you're right about the veteran community, because no matter where you go, so, you know, it's the camaraderie, it's the bond.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing we talked on the last episode I did. I posted on January 2nd. It was just me and Sharon talking. It was right after we had our very first responder event. And we talked about the veteran community, because Sharon's a veteran, and she tells her story because she had a suicide attempt. And so she tells her story and how the veteran community helped her.
Stepped up.
They stepped up. She became part of a Facebook group full of veterans, and they would always reach out to her. She got to know them, like they come hang out with her and stuff like that. So we started a Facebook group trying to hopefully to build the same thing. And it's called FRT, First Responders of Texas. I think we put that up on the first episode I was with y'all.
Right.
And so it's slowly going. It's slowly picking up. I think we have like 200 members right now. But like I said, it's a very hard community. Like no one really wants to participate just yet.
It's the fear.
Yeah, exactly. Because, you know, they don't know if an admin's going to be watching or not.
Right.
And stuff
And they
like
don't
that,
want to associate their screen name with a certain group.
Exactly.
It's tough. You see the cancel culture all around, and you don't know who's scanning these sites and what you post or how you talk.
Exactly. Because it's bad, because everyone in the country, for the most part, loves veterans. You can't say the same thing about first responders.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah, a lot of people are getting off of all social media altogether because it's just like, hey, I don't ever want my stuff out there because I have kids, my family.
Exactly.
I don't want them to be at risk. And of course it does depend again on where you work, but you know, you just never know. And unfortunately, you know, 2021 was such a disaster when it came to our first responders and the support that they needed. Talking about, you know, the immunity being taken away. It seems like the mental health arena, it picked up to try and help with that, to like we always tell people, you know, with the badge of honor, you're never alone. But you know, there's always that going on in the back of my mind. If I make one post or somebody sees me, and even though it was 10 years ago, you know, they could potentially find me, and it's just crappy. It's just crappy time to have to think like that.
And
you have to.
The thing with that, I think y'all just saw Mesquite Police had just lost somebody in the line of duty. His badge number is 821. So some of us, we were trying to do, like, it's called hashtag 821 challenge. Sergeant Houston always took pictures of him in uniform and posted it online. He was very proud, and he wanted other people to be proud as well. And so a lot of people are getting scared to do things on social media, show that they're cops. He was never afraid. So we're trying to be like, hey, don't be afraid of what you do. Be proud of what you do. Show it off. You know, be smart about it. But let's be proud.
But
show the world that you're a good person.
But a lot of policy, a lot of law enforcement policy is you can't show, because some bad apples spoiled it for the rest.
Yep.
So you can't show on social media who you work for. Can't show the badge. You can't show the patch. It makes it hard for law enforcement across the nation.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Mike just chimed in, and he says, yes, be proud.
Mike Panici, I worked with, thank you, Mike, for joining in. Mike Panici, I worked with in Brooklyn. He's a great cop. And, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, the cops are stigmatized, and we're going to smash that. We're on the mend of smashing that, hopefully.
Yeah, and that's one thing, like with the podcast I'm trying to do, is I guess about mental health, but really it's about humanizing everybody. To show that we're not robots.
No, we're not.
We hurt. Just like everybody else.
I think that's you know, if anybody didn't see any the coverage of the tragic fire in Philadelphia today, you want to see a human being that really, I'll say human beings that were speechless, hurting, and didn't really know what to say, from the mayor to the councilman who that was his ward, to the fire chief. They were so taken aback, and to be having a press conference and like they couldn't find the words because of just the utter devastation and the death that came with this. That's what it's like, folks. We are human. When we have a devastating, in this case, fire or an accident where children die, where people die, and we do that day in and day out, over and over and over again. The next call. There's no time in between to truly process. Now, Nate, you talk about, just like we do, there are things you can do after you're off of those calls. Have that awareness of what is going on inside your body, to whether it's breathing techniques or a lot of stuff that John Edmondson teaches, the focusing on even the chair you're sitting in, how your feet feel on the floor, if it's just the floorboard of your car. I encourage everybody to just go watch some coverage from this morning.
They definitely need to show that type of coverage. And the issue with my podcast, and I'm sure y'all might have the same thing, is like 95% of the people that listen are already first responders. So I would like somehow get our message, our stories, our shows out to the civilian population so they can really understand. Then they might not spread as much hate, because they're like, oh man, he hurts like I do. If I saw a dead kid, I'd be devastated too.
Yeah.
Once again, it also depends, like you said about the politicians. It depends on your community. It depends on the community you're in.
Yep.
Yeah.
You may share your story, and they may zero empathy, zero.
You got a badge. I don't care.
Right.
Screw you. You took the job. Now deal with it.
Exactly. The what's on the never say to somebody, oh, you signed up for it.
Yeah.
As soon as they say that to me, then I say the same thing about NFL players. They can start complaining. It's like, you signed up for it. You make $1 million. You're good.
There you go.
Yeah,
there you go. Well, Nate, thank you again for coming on, for sharing everything that you're doing. And I mean, we wish you the best for 2022. Now, you have people that you're an open book, like we are. If you're
Absolutely.
listening and you're resonating with Nate and you want to reach out to him, Nate, what's the best way for people to do that?
Yeah, so I have Instagram, Surviving the Streets.
Okay.
It's at Surviving the Streets with Nate.
Surviving the Streets with Nate on Instagram.
Yep. If you want to see pictures of my dog, you can bring up my personal profile. It's at Nate_the_bald. So Nate the Bald.
Well, you got to do that again. At Nate
_the _bald.
Oh, okay.
And you can reach me on that as well. And then, like I said, we started a Facebook group called FRT, First Responders of Texas.
I got that one.
Surviving the Streets has its own page on Facebook as well.
Oh,
Okay. Awesome. Well, John, you have to talk because I'm typing. I can't.
I was just listening. I never understood the underscore thing, so I was just going, why is everybody underscore these things? But
it's like having a space.
I do want to bring up one thing, is that the first responder in Texas, is that only open up to Texas first responders?
I'll take anybody. Like, I just did it right now as for Texas, just because, like I said, most of the people I have in contact with right now are in Texas. So I'm like, let's start it here, let's build it up, and then we can hopefully I can start opening up things throughout the country. And if someone from outside of Texas wants to join, figure out how if they have like the idea and they want to start their own, by all means, let's start your own. Let's build a community.
Yep.
That way, if I go to, because I'll be going up to Kentucky quite a bit now because we're having some horses up there. That way I can tap into the community up there in Kentucky, or if I want to go on vacation and I'm like, hey guys, I used to be a cop in Texas and now I'm in New York because I've never been to the Big Apple. What's the good places? And I'm like, hey man, come over here.
I got to tell you one thing about New
you want
York.
to wait on that for a while.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing about New York cops. If you're an out-of-town cop, New York cops are not standoffish at all. They will welcome you with open arms. New York cops are probably the most fighting law enforcement group out there. They will be more than happy to show you around, put you on the boats, bring you over here. NYPD is definitely the greeting capital of the world. They are.
We just gotta wait for the new mayor to clean things up a little bit. I don't want to send. I don't like to send friends, kind of into territories where they may not come back.
Yeah.
It's like you, John, where you think you're going to go to Belgium or wherever you were talking about earlier today. I'm not letting you out of this country. Forget it. So, well, Nate, thank you again so much for being on. We will be on the lookout for more of your episodes of Surviving the Streets. Folks, check. Nate releases 2 episodes a month. Again, it's Surviving the Streets podcast on Spotify, on Apple, on iHeartRadio. Are you on Google Podcast too?
No, I'm not.
Not yet.
Not yet. I'm working on everything right now.
All right. And then, keep tabs. I put the link for the GoFundMe so that Nate can do what he and Sharon envision, helping our first responders in the future with the equine therapy. So go over to GoFundMe and you can find him there. And Nate, again, Happy New Year. Thank you for being with us, and we'll check in with you soon.
Absolutely.
We'll look you up when we come to the Houston area, brother.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Take care.
Very well.
All right. Bye. Well, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm glad that we had him back and he could tell more of his story and what he's doing now, because it is. I hope that, in December, John, we just covered so much, so many different programs. We added so many partners with what Nate is doing. The help is there if you want it. All you have to do is muster up the courage to ask, just like Nate talked about, mustering up the courage to talk to his command staff. And it will be the most courageous thing that you will do. But no, just like John's shirt says, you are not alone in this fight. And I promised at the beginning of the show, I have my little, I'll call it toolbox that keeps expanding. And I got the toolbox of tools to use for my own stress and things that I do every day. I have my recipe, but I also have the toolbox that, John and I started assembling back in 2019 called a Badge of Honor. And it is 2022. And I just feel blessed beyond words to have the chance to work with you and Jeff and John Edmondson to do the work that we're doing to really heal our heroes, to make it normal, to not be okay, and just to continue to share what we do. And so if you go and visit the website, I'm going to put it up here. You will see there's a lot to be added. First of all, if you are a first responder in the East Texas area, you want to go onto our website and you want to register for our 8-hour workshop in Lindale. Thank you again to the Lindale Police Department for sponsoring it. Friday, February 4th. Again, it's 8 hours. You get 8 hours of TCOL, and it is an interactive workshop. So that means you get fed. We got breakfast. We got lunch. You are covered the entire day. Last time we even have leftovers for dinner.
Yeah.
It was that good. And so you want to go ahead and register for that. If you are a family member of a first responder, we want to let you know that you are absolutely not alone either. And all throughout 2021, we asked, hey, how can we make this experience better? What are the key things as first responders that you would like us as a badge of honor to do, to open the door to? And they said family. Well, we have added a family program to our workshop repertoire. Now it's half the time, it's 4 hours, and we're confirming the dates right now with the Veterans Resource and Outreach Center. So those dates will be posted coming up on the website as well. But rest assured, family member of a first responder, you have your own workshop. You can let your first responder go to work, go do what they do, and you can come with yourself, with your kids, because it will be open for teenagers, not so much youngsters because of the nature and the topics that we talk about, but certainly for teenagers. And if your first responder wants to join you, they are welcome to do that as well. So be on the lookout. We will start those in March. If you want to make sure that all of the programming that we do, and there's a lot, believe it or not, there is so much behind the scenes that goes into everything, not only running this show, but running the 501c3. If you would like to make a donation, please visit abadgeofhonor.com. At the top, you'll see donate/Mad Radio. You can click there, and surprise, if you decide that you shop on Amazon and that is where you do all of your shopping, well, we are now part of the Amazon Smile network. So what you do is everything stays the same. You just go to amazonsmile.com and your account, Amazon account will come up and everything like that. And you search for a badge of honor. And Amazon donates a portion of, if everybody goes and does this, we'll get a portion of the proceeds back from Amazon. So again, that's Amazon Smile. The links are all on our website. So, thank you, Amazon, for allowing us to be a part of the Amazon Smile nonprofit family. I can't reveal another huge announcement probably till, I think we'll be able to do that reveal on the next show. We'll have all the details for that. But we continue to build our partnerships, and we've got a big announcement coming up, one that you will know, and the entire United States will know of this organization that we're so blessed to be able to be partners with. Sorry, we have to be a little cryptic, but we're not allowed to make any announcements yet. And John, there's just so many good, awesome things for 2022. And like I said, nothing ever but good things come out of tragedy. And again, our show tonight, we pay our respects and our deepest condolences to the St. Lucie Sheriff's Office in Florida for the loss of 2 of their deputies to suicide, and those that perished in the Philadelphia row house fire this morning. Am I leaving anything out? Because it's just,
I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are, but that's okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on in the nation. And the biggest thing that you brought up was the workshops in March for the families. Even Mike Vinici was talking about, how about the wives, wives and husbands of first responders do battle They have what they call secondary or vicarious trauma from what they put up with. So to gather an
And
understanding.
you said put up with. I think it's experience. No, as Meg would say, bullshit, Sam. It is put up with.
Put up with. But you know, the family aspect will bring them together. It will show each one in a safe, neutral environment on what each one deals with on a daily basis. Mike wrote, I don't know how my wife did it. I really don't. I agree. It's so tough, Mike. And you know, there are so many husbands and wives out there that battle each and every day, not only with the worrying about the knock on the door, that phone call that they may receive, or the news clipping, or the YouTube video, or anything else that is on their mind. And the understanding between both parties has to come. And when we have these, when we start doing these workshops, I hope we can bond the families into understanding a little bit better of what each one goes through. Because as a first responder, you know, you'll come home and go, I had a shitty day, whatever, just go cook dinner or go take care of the kids or whatever. But, you know, the first responders also got to look on the flip side that, hey, she's been watching the kids all day. She's been cleaning the house. She went out shopping. She was prepping while you were at work. You know, it's a two-sided street on that. So I hope we can bring some sense of value to the workshops. And Mike, thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said, me and Mike worked together back in New York. Great guy, great officer. Many blessings to you, Mike. Happy New Year. And to everybody else that's listening, please check out abadgeofhonor.com. And you know, if you request a workshop in your area, in your town, give us some advance notice. If we have to travel, we will. We have no problem with that. We will go anywhere in the country to support you. So please just let us know. And the only thing I'm going to say is, you know, prayers to all our first responders. And if you can be anything in this world, choose to be kind.
Thanks, everybody. We will see you. Remember, yes, our programming notes. So we'll be back with you on the 3rd, which I believe is the 19th. Somebody check my calendar. Our next show is going to be, drum roll, please. Yes, it is going to be Wednesday, January 19th. So we're doing the first Wednesdays and the third Wednesdays of each month. Again, thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, folks, be safe out there. Thanks so much. Thanks, John.
Thank you. Take care, Sam.
Bye-bye.
Bye.